Steelheart here, and in this video we're going to talk about the difference between swirling, marbling, and hydro dipping with film. So swirling and marbling are very similar. Generally speaking, swirling is with spray paints, marbling is with paints that you just drip into the water, but that's not a hard rule. And obviously marbling paints that are made for hydro dipping will work better than just spray paints. But let's compare them to the film hydro dipping. So first, the obvious thing is they look different. This was swirl dipped. And I say swirl dipped. Often that swirl dipping is where they'll take the tumbler perhaps, and when they go to dip it, they will swirl it. And the idea is to get a nice swirl pattern, and some people are really good at it. This one was done that way. It sucks. This one I actually rolled over the top, and it turned out better than the swirl. Experience. A film hydro dip. Okay, here's a example of a bad hydro dip, but it still has a pattern. You can still see what it is. Here is a same film, and I rolled it. Turned out really well. Carbon fiber. You can do carbon fiber and film. Can't do that with swirling. This one has got a nice red candy intercoat. And the drone here, carbon fiber top plate on my drone. So you could swirl it, have a very random pattern, and if you're experienced and you know what colors to use, obviously I don't, it can look good. The print, the film, takes some practice, but if you do it right, it'll look good. So finish. You may not be able to tell. This is a very rough finish. Now I will tell you, neither of these two are clear coated because they suck. This one has been clear coated. It has glops of paint in places, and when I did it, I scraped the glops off, but it's gonna be a rough finish as far as the texture is rough because there's multiple layers of paint. It's just a messy process, and that's why a lot of times they'll use epoxy as the clear coat, the top coat, because it's a thick coating, and they'll have the spinner where it will constantly spin it, and you put the epoxy on it anyway. That's the swirling. The film, it's smooth. That is smooth as can be. Smooth as can be. Well, this would have been smooth. Sorta, it wasn't smooth to begin with because it's a plastic, but smooth as can be. Just a nice quality top coat, clear top coat was put on them, and they're smooth. I could easily put a vinyl sticker or something on these, and it would adhere nicely. These, you might be able to if you use an epoxy, or you put it on now and clear coat over it. So we kind of talked about how they look and like the surface. Let's talk about the time that it takes to actually do them. So for the swirling, first you've got to prep the surface, whether it's with like 400 to 600 grit sandpaper or a Scotch-Brite pad, something like that, gray or red, and get the surface prepped, cleaned off. Then you can apply your base coat. You probably want a base coat so you have better adhesion. You then put your paints, whether it's spray paint or just paints that you're dripping, into the bucket of water, and you then dip it however you're going to dip it. Dip it in, swirl it in, roll it, whatever, multiple lid versus sides, that whatever. And I do have videos. I will have most of these at least in videos. These might be what not to do videos. But anyway, and then finally, let it dry and you clear coat it, whether it's with a clear coat paint or an epoxy. Do not sand. Don't try to sand it smooth after you've done it. That's how you get the little white dots. Well, in my case it's white because my base coat's white. Don't do it. Don't sand it. It's going to have a rough coat. That's the way it is. All right, so that's the basic. And if you're using epoxy, you got to deal with the epoxy and have a spinner type thing. So pretty straightforward. One tip, make sure you get your water temperature set to whatever your paints say to have it set. The film, so the ink transfer film, so hydro dipping with the film, you still have the same prep. You're still going to sand it with 400 to 600 grit sandpaper or the Scotch-Brite pad. You're going to then have to, and you got to clean the surface free of greases and stuff. You then want to base coat it, same as this, base coat it, but in this case, the color needs to match whatever is appropriate for the film. So for this, the American flag one, it requires a white base coat because wherever you see white, that was actually clear in the film. So there is no ink there. It shows the white base coat underneath. So instead of taking your spray paint or dripping your paint like a swirl, you actually have to cut the film. You have to size the film, cut it. I suggest, unless you have an actual tank, you put tape around the edges to keep the ink in place. So with either one, it could be a bucket or a tub with water, the appropriate temperature. You then need to take the film, put it in on top of the water. You've got to make sure you got the right side up. You got to be careful putting it in. You then want to spray the activator on it, get that right. Then you dip it, and just with the swirling dip, you've got to make sure you dip it properly so you don't get pockets of air, whatever. Then you got to patiently rinse the film off of the object. Time-wise, I think this one is quicker by a little bit. Difficulty. So the keys to what makes these difficult, and when I say difficult, I'm talking about and actually making them look right. The more experience you have, obviously, the better they're going to turn out, the easier it's going to be. You got to make sure you get the right kinds of colors. You got to figure out your paint, because all these paints, read the back of the cans. If it's a spray can, some of them want the water temperature to be 77 degrees. Others may be colder. If it's the marbling paint, where you take a pepit and you dip it in and then you start dripping it in, look at the temperature, and it's getting the colors mixed right, and then moving them and getting your pattern right, and then there's the dipping. So, and then on this, the epoxy can be the challenge if you don't have a spinner, because that epoxy is going to want to run. It's not like a spray paint. So on the ink transfer film, as far as difficulty, where it is difficult, the challenges may be getting your film the right size. Don't undersize it. You then have to cut the film without ruining it. It's not that hard. Don't get it wet, that type of thing. You got to make sure you get it the right size, right side up. So sticky side is down. Sorry, Steelheart. I know sticky side is supposed to be up, but sticky side down in this case. Placing the film can be challenging. You got to drop it in so you don't get air bubbles, and yet you don't get water coming over the top of the film. Activating it. How much activator? Getting that right can be a challenge. And then you got the dip. Because this is random, the dip is less critical than on here. If you're dipping carbon fiber, it's got nice straight lines. It's got a fixed pattern. If you mess up the dip, you're going to see it easy. This, not so much. You can stretch this some, and it'll still look good because it's more of a random pattern. Talk price. Here, you're going to need, for both, you're going to need the sandpaper, Scotch pad, whatever, to prep it. This one, you can use the base coat. Most people will have the base coat the same, one of the colors they use in it. And this one, you're going to have a base coat that's got to be appropriate for the film. This one, you're going to need whatever paint colors that you want to use. So if you're doing like a spray can, that's what a lot of people do. They'll buy a spray can of each of the colors they want to use, whether it's 2, 3, 4 colors, maybe more. But you're looking at $4 or $5 per can. And then you've got, of course, a bucket or a tub, and you got your clear coat or epoxy. So, you got to add a little bit there as well. For the ink transfer film, generally you just want to buy a kit. You can buy the activator and film off of Amazon for as cheap as like $25. That's what this was. I will have a link in the description to it. Or you can get a more expensive kit that includes everything you need. And I do mean everything. And that's the sandpaper, the base coat, the film, the activator, the top coat, the whole works. So those are going to be at least probably $70 or more. You might also need some sort of degreaser, a cleaner or a degreaser, or isopropyl alcohol. You know, the rubbing alcohol type stuff, however you pronounce it. A tack cloth helps. That gets any lint off. You may need masking tape to tape off what you don't want colored. And if it's like this one, I use masking tape to tape here and up here. So for swirling, you could probably do that for, I'm going to say $25. All right, no problem. Total cost. For this, it's going to be more. It's even if you buy the $25 kit, you still got to, like I said, you still got to get the base coat, you got to get the sandpaper, clear coat, all that. So it's going to be more, and I would say it's going to be at least twice whatever your swirl is. But if you look at what you get, I hope that was helpful. Hope it may have answered some of your questions about the differences between swirling and ink transfer film hydro dipping. So technically they're both hydro dipping, hydro being water, and you're dipping your object in it. So hope that was helpful. If so, please like, subscribe, comment. If you got questions, please ask. I will answer if I can. I have done several now and plan several more. And good luck with yours.